Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from worldwide. I'm Sterling. It's great to have you back on the channel. This show's being recorded for Sunday, December 25th, 2022. I want to wish everybody that's celebrating worldwide a happy holiday season. Just all the best to you and your families. As always, these shows are recorded for entertainment purposes only. So all the information I share with you comes directly through my guides, angels, extended spiritual counsel, ETs, famous people from history, so for entertainment purposes only. Also, for those that want to reach me, just go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the Book a Session tab. It's all very straightforward from there, and the calendar is always up to date. And if you get a chance, just remember to like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. All those things really help the channel. So we have a kind of a busy show, a packed show today. All these questions come from our community board, and we put a request on Mondays for questions. And so all these questions come. I think we had hundreds of questions again. I don't recall what the exact number was. But today my wife does go through them and narrows it down. I think we have a top 52 countdown to share with you. So with no further ado, let's jump into the show. I thought we would start off the first two questions. We always like to start off with some mediumship. And there was a number of requests for Nostradamus today, as well as a very well-known mountain lion, P22. As for those that don't know, P22 was a mountain lion that was very well known in the Griffith Park area of Los Angeles, and many people followed P22 and really got very involved in the care and keep, if you will, of P22. So I thought it was appropriate to bring P22 through. And I want to preface that, all animals communicate using the same kind of channels that loved ones who passed over do, and angels and guides, and all sorts of other entities, ascended masters on the other side. Animals communicate through the same channel. So with no further ado, let's get going on today's show. So countdown question number 52. Does P22 have a message for us? And I brought P22 through this morning, and here's exactly what was said. I'm very honored that everyone has taken an interest in my life and legacy. My life's journey was designed to teach others about the magnificence of wildlife and create an emphasis on caring for, respecting, and saving all species. I love the fact you have created monuments in my name that will live forever, as well as acknowledge my birth date each year. Send some of this love and light that I presented to you to your loved ones, and learn to respect humankind the way that I tried in my life. You'll be caring for many of my brothers and sisters in the animal kingdom going forward, and I will continue to communicate with all of you and them from my place here in the heavens. But wonderful, really a wonderful animal, and made a big impact on many, many people, and even worldwide, even though P22 is based in Southern California. So wonderful to connect with P22. 51, the countdown. Does Nostradamus have a message for us? Next year will be a year of significant positive change for the world, because the world will be crossing a tipping point in world peace and understanding. My knowledge of the universe was designed to give humankind a roadmap that you will see play out in years to come. Remember, you are in control of Earth and the heavens, and your thoughts can create a lifetime of understanding, peace, and joy. Help me make the world a safer place. Look for the major world conflicts involving superpowers to be resolved soon, and create new boundaries for the world in 2023. Work as fast as possible towards a greener economy, because the world needs a relief from severe climate effects. I know you will take the appropriate steps. Peace be with you, and I will speak with you again. So wonderful message from Nostradamus. Always still very concerned about the world going forward, and kind of the accurate interpretation of a lot of the information he put forward long time ago. So it's always, I do enjoy checking in with Nostradamus, and I think it was a wonderful message regarding peace, especially during this holiday season worldwide, that we kind of stay focused on manifesting peace in the world. So number 50 in the countdown. Do Neanderthal genes contribute anything of interest to those of us who have a few percent in our genetic makeup? Well, I get it. It's a double-edged sword. The answer is yes. It's a double-edged sword because there are certain types of cancer, like liver cancer, which make you more susceptible to, but then many other forms of cancer, which you're not susceptible to. So a little bit of a double-edged sword there. So it does have an effect on your genealogy and your health going forward. Well, interesting question. 49, will Merrick Garland move forward with criminal charges against 45? Yes, based on the information that is being now collected by Jack Smith and the information or the roadmap provided by the January 6th committee, it does look like charges are coming very soon. I think the question is, yeah, well, there's charges coming forth very soon. So stand by for that. 48, what can your guides tell us about the meeting between Joe Biden and Zelensky? Well, what I get there, and I want to be careful because not all information is good for public consumption, but they laid out a roadmap for defense of Ukraine and for advanced weapons to control the skies. So there's things going on there. So they laid out a plan for stronger support for Ukraine going forward. And, my team had forecasted months ago that there would be advanced weapons placed in Ukraine to really help them more directly fight an air battle. So anyway, this is all part of what was discussed. 47. In 2011, Scott Lilly was murdered while hiking on the Appalachian Trail. Will the person that committed his murder be caught? Has the murder killed others? Interesting. Not too familiar. Scott Lilly, 2011. Well, they're telling me this is an isolated incident. So something, was a conflict between two human beings here. It does not look like a serial murderer, that is. It does not look like whoever did this has gone on to kill others. Unfortunately, this looks like a real conflict between two people. And it does look like DNA was recovered from the scene, even though it may have been suffocation. There's some DNA there. So it looks to me like some big progress even next year, 2023, around this case. Sorry to hear that for the family of Scott Lilly, but hopefully that helps. 46. Do you see any significant events for South Africa in 2023? Looks like some still significant power struggles in government. But the power struggles are over, accusations of, money laundering or something here. But it looks like whoever's being accused of money laundering will be vindicated, which is kind of interesting. It looks like in South Africa next year, they're going to try to move towards a unified digital currency. They may not achieve it by the end of the year, but big movement on some kind of a digital currency. And also some kind of power generation problems in South Africa. So either need to bring on more power plants or stabilize them. Something going on here with power generation. So a number of things will get addressed and tackled in South Africa in 2023. 45. Why did Elon Musk and Jared Kushner visit Saudi Arabia recently? I get is related to real estate holdings and further investment in other enterprises for both the family of 45 and Elon. So it has to do with both real estate and investment and in other companies. 44. Is there going to be a cure for hypothyroidism? Yes. A complete cure within 6 years due to CRISPR technology. 43, will newly elected George Santos, Republican from New York, be sworn in for Congress or be removed from Congress due to his lies about his background? Looks to me like he gets sworn in, but very soon after that, and it looks like there's like a runoff election that'll occur out into next year. So So it looks like he gets moved sideways due to lies or something told here regarding his election campaign. 42. Will Flynn ever lose his military retirement or be stripped of his rank for participating in the coup with 45? Yes. And this will all be made public within 2023 by the middle of the year. 41. Florida's Board of Registration of Medicine is the first in the country to prohibit doctors from prohibiting gender-affirming care for transgender individuals. First in the country to prohibit doctors from providing gender-affirming care for transgender individuals. Will this prohibition remain in place? What will happen to transgender individuals in Florida? I'm being told there's going to be protection for transgender medical care from the federal government in 2023. So new legislation coming, and then that's going to affect local legislation or ability to care for individuals in 2023. So looks like some federal legislation coming forward next year will then leverage what's going on in Florida. I think that's what this person was asking about. Yeah. And by the way, there's something remind me, it's leverage it towards a good way. So there will be care for transgender individuals. So the federal legislation will take precedence over what's going on in Florida. 40, during the last 2 months, there have been dozens of cattle mutilations in Meeker, Colorado. No one can figure it out. Was this alien in nature? Yes, 100% extraterrestrial involvement. And I'm also being reminded, you can tell normally there's the lack of any blood at the scene. And it's very characteristic of precision surgery being done along with a lack of any kind of blood at the scene. So this is extraterrestrial in origin. 39, many blessings to you and your family this holiday season. Since all souls are direct energy from Source, and Source is pure with unconditional love and acceptance, why is it necessary to learn any lessons through free will and an earthly human experience? Well, all souls are born into what I call a new state. Now, all souls are created at the same time. However, it's only as souls come down to earth plane do they experience, they elevate energetically, they learn lessons, the soul evolves. So certainly born out of the one source, the one force, but born in what I call a new state of existence. And that requires learning to kind of elevate understanding on an energetic level. And that's all part of the way the universe is laid out. Whoever laid it out, one source, one force, and that's the way they laid it out. Okay, 38 in the countdown. Outside of the legal peril is 45 in any danger from powerful entities, other nations, or powerful people? Are there those who feel 45 knows too much? Yes, absolutely. And these individuals, they're very concerned over 45 and his knowledge. Many of them are based around the world, but highly connected to Russia for entertainment purposes only. 37, is it possible to reincarnate back in time, say to the 18th or 19th century? This question comes up quite frequently. My team always tells me that whenever you reincarnate into this world, you always go through in what I call a forward fashion. So you don't go back in time, you don't go forward, you go forward in time from the last lifetime you lived. However, when you're on the other side in heaven, time is nonlinear, and you can move backwards and forwards in time to experience different time periods. But when you reincarnate actually on this earth, you're always moving forward in time from the last lifetime you had. 36. What is going on with the education sector? I'm a professor, and it seems that students at all levels are not interested in schools anymore. This past semester, less than half made it to the end. Enrollment for the next semester is down to levels we've never seen before. We fear the classes will be canceled if not filled. Teachers and staff are all worried for their jobs. What is happening? And will enrollment go back up to pre-pandemic levels? So a lot of buried questions in there. So we'll unpack them. First off, what I'm being told is like very large funding is coming from the federal government for the education sector over the next 12 to 36 months here. So big funding coming into the education sector. The second is that there's a lot of lingering effects for students from the pandemic, from our political environment right now, and from a lot of unrest in the world. So students, like many individuals in the world, are managing through, navigating through a lot of the world problems. So I do see a big turnaround and kind of a recovery in the education system starting over the next 12 months and then moving through, 30 through 36 months where we are here. So it's going to get better, but it's a combination of things: healing in the world, conflict slowing down, pandemic moving to an endemic as we get out into next year. So yeah, I'm sorry for all the conflict the education sector is experiencing, but it does look like it's on a path for recovery. 35. Hi, Sterling. When animals are sick, are they able to ask their guides for help, or do they rely on humans to call their guides to help? Both answers are true. So animals are from the angelic realm. They're very sophisticated. They're actually able to work very directly with their angels and guides. However, animals are down here to teach humans lessons. So if there's a lesson that's inherent to the people or humans that are around that animal, it will be the engagement of those humans in calling in their angels and guides and working to help the animals. So kind of depends on where the lesson lies, if you will, whoever the lesson is for. But animals are very capable of working with their teams, no problem at all. 34. About 30 years ago, I was driving home from work on a dark rainy evening when I saw something which made me swerve onto the opposite side of the road. I'm positive I saw a man lying on the road. I could not even describe the clothes he was wearing. I'm sorry, I could even describe the clothes he was wearing. As soon as I could turn my vehicle around, I headed back to where I had seen this man, expecting to see many cars stopped and people running around in panic. However, I saw nothing to report and no person lying on the road. What did I experience? This was typical. This was a full-scale apparition of an individual, a man that had died at that scene in a traffic accident. So that can happen. You saw a full-scale apparition. It's a bit of a memory for that area. I have seen sometimes when traumatic events happen, they do leave an impression on that area. And so you saw a full-scale apparition of that person. 33. What exactly happens during an exorcism? Ah, good question. It's the release of a tremendous amount of fear and anxiety and depression, and a number of spirits that are attracted to that. So I know that in Hollywood circumstances, they show demonic presence, overcoming somebody. But when somebody has tremendous fear and depression around them, they attract a lot of low-level spirits. So it's almost a lot of hitchhikers. So during exorcism, my team's telling me that it's a release of a tremendous amount of fear, anxiety, hurt, depression, and energetically, when that person is then shifted to a more positive state, that a lot of the lower level energetic spirits leave. So they have no interest in hanging around. 32. By 2024, will there be laws in place that will make it a requirement for any nominee to hand over all tax returns before running for president? Yes, 100%. And it looks like there'll also be finally mandatory audits of presidents and individuals running for the presidency. So I see a whole revamp of the IRS and procedures around that. I know some of the procedures have been in place, mandating audits, if you will, but they haven't been executed very well in the past, certainly with 45. But I do see that as a big change coming up here. And I think they're asking about the 2024 election. Absolutely. Yep. 31. The medical establishment says they don't know the origin of benign tremors, nor do they know how to cure them. Does your team have any information on them, and can they see if and when they will have a cure for them? Well, I'm not a doctor, but the main cause is deep in the brain, deep inside the brain. And I also get that by doctors studying stroke victims, they'll be able to garner knowledge. So it looks like in just a number of years here, I'll give you 5, 6 years on that order, that through study of the brain and stroke victims, they'll be able to get to the core kind of glands deep inside the brain that cause tremors. And it looks like scientists, may have been looking in the wrong area, maybe around what I call the cerebral area, or the outside of the brain. Again, not a doctor, but looks like the problem is deep inside the brain. So there's help coming. And again, looks like 5 or 6 years here, they'll make big progress in this area, and even have some methods for controlling these tremors. 30. Who built Puma Punku, I think that's how you pronounce it, in Bolivia, and what destroyed it? So this looks like an ancient city or ancient monument of some kind, and there were extraterrestrials that helped humans build it, and it looks like a natural disaster destroyed it. So like a flood, earthquake, something of that nature. So something very natural destroyed it, but it was built at a time when there was a lot of extraterrestrial support. 29, Sterling, the January 6th committee referred 4 congressmen to the House Ethics Committee for not complying with subpoenas. However, these same men may be promoted to leadership positions such as the Ethics Committee in the next Congress. Will they actually be sanctioned for ethics violations? And will they be criminally charged for their roles in the insurrection? Will they be kicked out of office? Again, a lot of questions there buried, so we'll unpack them. I don't see a lot happening due to the ethics violations. A lot of dialogue, a lot of discussion, but I don't see legal charges per se. I do see legal court cases for these 4 individuals coming from the January 6th insurrection. So something coming even through as a Jack Smith eventually here. So there are legal charges, legal cases by individuals. I think the last question is, will they get kicked out of committee or kicked out of office? It looks like within 2 years, these individuals will be removed from office. And of course, I always see that happening. You have charges that take place, then a trial occurs, and then there's a completion to those trials. So there's actually conviction. And it's when those convictions happen that I see them being removed from office. 28, Hi Sterling, in numerology, all sorts of information is supposed to be available through the letters in our birth name. Do your guides have anything to tell us about the validity of this, and if our names are specially chosen? Yes, names are very interesting. Names do contain energy. And it's interesting that names can be used to unlock, almost like a key to the information about somebody. In fact, many times when my team does remote sessions with people over the phone, names are one of the big triggers that unlock a lot of information, so that my team is completely aligned with that individual in the remote session. Now, so names do contain a lot of energy, and they're like keys that unlock a lot of information. As far as reducing the letters in a name, not getting significance around that, but I am getting that names do contain energy, and they are significant unlocking information. So hopefully that helps. 27, Hi Sterling, is there any hope for people with lifelong debilitating phobias? I've tried many therapies, EMDR, which gives us eye movement desensitization reprocessing, hypnosis, and even past life regression. Nothing has helped. I am not even sure how it started, but it affects everything and everyone in my life. So these are phobias. Well, my team's telling me that there's things that can be done right now involving virtual reality, real life simulation technology. There's something there involving virtual reality therapies, and something involving biofeedback using laptops. So whoever asked this question, I do a little research. There's some new studies being done, and it looks like there's some things here that can be done inside the home to help retrain the brain regarding phobias. 26, Hi Sterling, do we still have free will when we are in spirit? Yes, absolutely. You can spend your time any way you desire, not a problem at all. You can even select and decide whether you want to come back and reincarnate. It's all up to you. A lot of free will. By the way, take a quick look at the movie Robin Williams did called What Dreams May Come. I always think there's a lot of good references in that film to some of the interactions in heaven, but free will is certainly very possible. Absolutely. Okay, 25 in the countdown. Depression is such an elusive disease. Will there ever be a way of diagnosing or using brain scans or some other diagnostic technique? Relying on objective tools is insufficient, and so many our diagnoses are missed. Well, again, not a doctor, but my team's telling me it's a combination of chemical balance in the brain, as well as the ability to kind of offload emotional traumas. So this was about depression. So it looks like there's a two-prong approach for diagnosis and treatment. Again, this is going to take several years here. I do see good advancements around CRISPR technology, which is gene editing technology, eventually being a help here. But my team's saying that kind of leans in more towards handling the chemical imbalance in the brain. So there are diagnostic tools coming, and then good ways to work on depression or minimizing its effects, putting it back into balance. So kind of a multi-stage approach to addressing depression. It doesn't feel like it's going to be as long as 10 years, but certainly a good 8 years for a lot of this technology to come into place and be very effective. 24. We lived in northern Idaho and owned a small mom and pop bakery. Late winter, a couple of years before Y2K, a group of 3 men and 1 woman came into our shop on a cold morning for coffee. 3 people were all elderly, over 60-ish. The one person male talking with me could not have been over 30 years. He was very white, transparent skin, tone, and his eyes were a rare blue. His pupils were odd in shape. He wasn't tall, under 6 feet. Being inquisitive, I asked him, "What are you doing, or what are you all doing here, and where are you from?" He said, "We are scientists traveling to the highest peaks of the mountains to study a new species of mushrooms." I said, "You're way too young to be a scientist." He laughed and said, "I'm way much older than you think, and I come from Nordic countries." I noticed he wasn't moving his lips. Was he an alien? You know, I get, yes, absolutely. You experienced a Pleiadian. So he was an extraterrestrial. And there are a number of clues here. My team is saying absolutely. 23. Do our loved ones on the other side know when we are about to cross over? Do they recognize us and greet us as in spouses on Earth? Yes, absolutely. Your entire spiritual extended family of thousands of people, they know when you're going to cross and they're ready for you. And that includes individuals that played the role as spouse, even on Earth. 22. Hi, Sterling. I have a question regarding reincarnation and life after death. If we have lived many lifetimes in various times, life experiences, and even roles and gender, then who are we in spirit? Are we a composite self? Are we aware of all of our past selves and connections, or are we just a more enlightened version of our current, present, incarnated self? Well, we understand all of our lifetimes. So our complete human spirit, some people refer to as your higher soul, your higher self, your complete soul. It's all one and the same, just different names for the same thing. That complete soul is what moves lifetime to lifetime and contains all of your spiritual DNA. So all of your life experiences from all of your lifetimes. So that is what moves lifetime to lifetime. And that is you. That's you. 21. Hi, Sterling and team. How is Vice President Harris, or Kamala Harris, doing on immigration reform, and when will it be presented to Congress for legislation or the president for executive order? Well, I see no significant progress right now, but in 2023, I do see legislation that she prepares, Kamala Harris supports and prepares, and it looks like it will get passed in 2023. So good for her for making progress in that area. 20. I'm working on opening up to my spirit guides and have asked them to speak to me in my dreams as I wake up. The other night at 2:30 a.m., I was half awake and felt someone lying beside me, could not hear them breathing. I felt like my husband energy, and I thought it was my ex-husband. Realizing I was waking up, I kept myself still and relaxed to see what else might happen. I then heard a very low man's voice, very slowly saying, I see a mass exit in 1 year. This is important. This sort of thing is not typical for me at all. What can you tell me about this? Well, this was a former family member, and it looks like it could have been an ex-husband to me, but the message was only partially received. So the message was incomplete, and it wasn't about a mass exit here on Earth. There's some sort of a partial message being received, and so there's a misinterpretation here. My team's telling me it's not about a mass exit. It looks like he may have been referring to a mass exit in the past, like being around individuals that were from the Holocaust. So it's a message about a former event, not about a future event here. Interesting. 19, love your show. Thanks. This weekend, I went to an estate sale, more to see the house, which was over 100 years old. While walking through the house, I started to get a really bad feeling like something bad happened there. When I got to the third floor, I felt like I had trouble breathing, and something in my mind said that I shouldn't touch anything. This was not the first time I have gotten a really bad feeling in an old house. What are these feelings and why do I get them? What should I do when I get these feelings? Well, this is characteristic of a spirit coming in very close to you. And sometimes spirits have had troubling journeys on Earth. It can feel very overwhelming. I can tell you that even if they're loving, benevolent spirits, when they come close to you, if you're not used to it, you can feel heart palpitations, kind of, this sort of a stressed out feeling. Not untypical what a lot of psychic mediums feel when they move into someone's energy or bring someone through. So it's a typical experience. I always tell individuals, if you're not prepared for it and you don't want it, all spirits will ask them to please stand back. Ask them to stand back. And if you find you're kind of carrying hitchhikers home with you, you can always sage yourself a little bit, but nothing dangerous here. But this is part of the interaction with spiritual energy sometimes. 18, hi Sterling, happy holidays to you and your family. Last year, I saw a girl of around 10 to 12 years old standing in my father's bathroom. She was wearing an early 1900s white dress and had long blonde hair. She telepathically told me she was sad and was looking for her parents. I asked my angels and guides to help her. Could you tell me if she found her parents and why she was in the bathroom of that house? So first off, your angels and guides were very helpful in helping her move on and find her parents. She found her parents very shortly thereafter, and it looks like she actually lived in that residence or that area at one time. So congratulations, your guides and angels helped her find her parents. She found her parents very soon thereafter, and that's kind of a wonderful interaction with spirit that you had. Okay, 17 in the countdown. Sterling, while I was riding in a car about to go over a bridge, I could not breathe and noticed a truck along the side of the river. I found out later the person died. I experienced something going through me. I can only describe it as needy, but no pain. Icy cold going through my chest in a square-like pattern. It was like I was the person. I saw water come up in the truck. It was dark. I was horrified. Then I went forward and I think hit my head on the steering wheel. Can you tell me something about what I experienced? Well, you experienced the memory of that event in that location for that spirit, that individual that died in the truck. So that's a little bit of a retained memory in that location. That can happen. And you experience that individual going through that death or that crossing process. So the very start of it, if you will. 16, hi Sterling. My mom died about 20 years ago and I saw her in the house and she spoke to me in my dreams. My dad recently passed and it was like radio silence. How come some people pass to the other side, communicate quickly, others do not? Well, all individuals can communicate very quickly when they go to the other side. Now, some individuals are better at it when they first cross over. Some it takes time. I always tell people there's what I call a TED principle, TED being the letters TED. And the TED principle means that you have to have a time alignment with the person on the other side. Things move faster than the speed of light in heaven than they do here. There has to be an energetic alignment between your energy and the other individual's energy. And the D stands for desire, sincere desire to communicate. So all individuals can communicate. I will tell you that sometimes individuals on this side, like such as yourself, if there's any fear or despair, something that can slow down the communication channel. But all individuals can communicate, and the TED principle serves to describe some of the elements that need to be in alignment. I would not worry that no one can communicate from the other side. They all can. They all can do it very quickly. But sometimes a few factors get involved with getting that communication going. 15, high sterling. We all experience karmic lessons. Does every country also go through karmic lessons based on the impact that it's had in the world? Well, nothing really karmic related to countries. Now, let me explain. If we talk about karma, karma is the kind of series of life lessons we came down here to learn. Now, certainly countries go through lessons based on a lot of the human energy and a lot of the earth energy. So I guess in that sense, countries have a karmic path, but I want to make sure that no one's being confused with karmic lessons being a debt that's being paid back. But they are a series of lessons, earth lessons, combined with human lessons that are part of the karmic journey of many individuals involved in those nations and countries. So just I guess a little more description around kind of what it means. But countries are also going through developmental path, getting raised energetically. That's all very true. 14, high sterling. We've had strange experiences at our homes we have lived in, but this one takes the cake. My family and I were all asleep in our beds last week. In the middle of the night, we were woken up by a loud sound of a siren in our house. It sounded like it was right outside the bedroom door. Everyone woke up, checking our doors throughout the house. We could not find anything. There's not a fire alarm there is a fire alarm. I'm sorry, not the fire alarm or carbon monoxide alarm. Nothing actually went off. The funny thing is we don't have a house alarm system, and we live in a secluded wood area in the country, not near any main roads and people. What the heck was the noise and where did it come from? What was the purpose? We all feel like we're crazy. A police siren is a very jarring sound. We all heard it, but we're not crazy. So this is very characteristic of a unified spiritual experience that occurs when energetically something in spirit is trying to warn you. So the fact that everybody heard it, this came from a spiritual sense, but it's a warning. So I'm going to tell whoever asked the question, really make sure that your smoke alarms are all working, your fire alarms are all working. This is a warning to make sure everything's kind of in order. And just take a look around the house for any safety items, because it looks like this is a large contingent of family on the other side, creating that sound for everybody, trying to say, as a warning. I don't think anything bad's going to happen to the family because they're going to take control and really take some safety measures based on this warning. But that's interesting. That's a unified spiritual experience. 13, high sterling. My adult daughters and I hear groups of people talking and music when lying on our side with our ears against our pillows. Once we lift up our heads, we can't hear it anymore. Can you tell me what we're experiencing? Well, these are actually sounds of the spiritual realm or spirit realm. And what happens is when you put your head down on a pillow, you can block out all natural sounds, and that allows you to kind of hear, I'm going to call it the radio station kind of in your head. There's ways of quieting your mind, but, sometimes sinking your head into a pillow, blocking off all natural sound, you can get more connected from sounds coming from spirit. So you can actually practice at this, and there are ways of determining and hearing very accurately what you're getting. 12, no one is talking about the power grid after the shooting that put thousands out of power. How vulnerable is it? Yes, well, unfortunately, the power grid is very vulnerable from both physical and cyber warfare, and the government knows this. What happened recently is not being discussed because there's larger militias involved, and the government's being rather quiet as they kind of research this. They actually know exactly which individuals caused the damage and which militias they're related to. The government's all over this, but that's why it's not being talked about extensively. So I would say fear not. I do see the federal government very involved in this, and they actually have an action plan to go after and prevent further damage. But that's why it's not being talked a lot about in the media. A lot of research and investigation going on behind the scenes. 11, hi, Sterling and team. I notice whenever I go to the store, hardly anybody is around. But as soon as I get to the checkout line, everyone's behind me and the lines are long. My husband noticed this as well. Same with getting gas in my car. No lines until I get to the gas station. My husband says it's my positive energy. Can you explain this to me? Absolutely. This is the experience. A lot of light workers have this kind of positive energy that attracts other people. It's almost like insects to a light. But so congratulations. You're definitely a very positive light worker. My wife has the same experience. Going to a store, almost no one there. And before you know it, the store is packed. So yeah, congratulations. You're a light worker. This is absolutely something that's happening that's real in your life. 10, hi, Sterling and team. Thanks for taking questions. What kind of impact and actions will result from the January 6th report? Will Congress members face more than ethics review? Will the media properly handle its reporting? I get the media will report it accurately. I do get the report coming from the January 6th committee will be a very detailed and a very credible roadmap that the federal government and Jack Smith, for example, will use in indictments and trials and evidence that are coming up. So it's a very positive outcome. I do see that. In fact, it reminds me, including there's things coming up still from the Georgia investigations. They're going to pan out to a number of trials throughout. Okay, 9 in the countdown. Will whomever cut the power grid in Moore County, North Carolina be caught? Is the sheriff office involved with the persons who did it? So this is kind of a carryover from the question we just answered, but yes, they will be caught. In fact, the federal government already knows who's behind it. And it actually, there are tentacles that go out to a number of other militia groups. So this is all coming up, and this is going to be understood very, very quickly. 8, I was trying to lift the corner of a piano in my home. I got tired and stopped, but my hands were still on it. When suddenly I was able to lift it effortlessly. Can you tell me who helped me? I know it sounds unbelievable, but it happened. Absolutely happened, and not unbelievable. And it looks like it was a family member. It looks like it was a father in spirit, a father energy here that helped you with that. 7, Sterling, about 30 years ago, I had a near-death experience. I was in a coma and on the heart transplant list. I woke up and spoke to a priest sitting next to my bed. He asked me if I believed in God. I said yes, and then I came out of the coma a few days later. My heart mysteriously started to heal, and I was taken off the transplant list. I was only given 20% survival possibility. Was this priest my guardian angel? Yes, it was actually what they call one of your birth angels. And your birth angels, their job is to keep you on the planet. That was absolutely direct interaction with one of your birth angels. Congratulations. 6, an acquaintance on Facebook has extreme long COVID. He went from being an active athlete to barely able to get out of bed. Any cures in the future? Yes, new drugs coming by the summer of 2023 for long COVID, and then also tremendous turnaround, a new drug in 4 years from what they call CRISPR technology. So a new CRISPR technology drug that will be very effective at long haulers. I think this is a long haul situation. Okay, number 5 in the countdown. Hi, Sterling. One morning while in Starbucks, I noticed a woman that appeared to be extremely tall, pale skin, and keeping her distance, waiting on her order. I was staring at the back of her head. She had her sunglasses on and almost sensing me, suddenly turned her head slightly to see me and smirked. Was this lady a shape-shifting alien I witnessed? Yes. In fact, what I'm being told is actually what they call a hybrid. So this is something that looked like human, but definitely extraterrestrial in origin. And it's interesting. I do see a number of them move through Starbucks. So I see many individuals notice hybrids when they're in Starbucks. Kind of fascinating. 4, when will the killer of the Idaho 4 be caught? Are they still in Moscow? Well, they're going to have an individual in custody in just a few weeks here. It's not going to take that long. They actually know who the individual is. The individual now is in another state, but there's also something implicating some other individuals. So it's coming very soon, and it looks like there's some federal agencies involved here that also know who the individual is. 3, hi, Sterling. At night, after I go to bed, I see shadows moving up towards the ceiling. I also see what looks like a spider go across the ceiling over my bed, and then it disappears. One night I saw a bright gold flash for a second in the corner of my room. On my room security camera, I've also recorded several videos of approximately 10 orbs flying around the room. My son recently passed away, and I was wondering if any of these occurrences could be him. Absolutely. I get this is absolutely your son reaching out to you. Your son has a humorous side to him, kind of a playful side, and things like the spiders and things you're seeing, that's a playful way your son is trying to get your attention. Absolutely, these are coming from your son. Oh, they're reminding me that the other orbs you're seeing are additional family members moving around the room with your son, all coming around to kind of heal your heart. Okay, so we're down to number 2 and number 1 in the countdown. As always, I try to take notes before we start to record the show, just for accuracy. So number 2 in the countdown, do you see anything coming up this week? New allegations and information coming surrounding 45 tax returns, as well as information in the report that was released from the January 6th committee. So there's new allegations and the formulation here of charges coming. I think we're going to hear very shortly. Don't look, it's going to be this week, but very, very soon. So I do see there's new allegations coming up. Still mass confusion around the airline transportation industry due to the major travel problems, but they're all getting worked out this week as the storms kind of move through. So kind of a lot of air travel being resurrected in a good way as we get out through the week. And number 1, do you have anything your guides want to share? Spread joy, because this is the season for everyone of all faiths to come together worldwide. And as always, that concludes then the show for today, December 25th, 2022. I want to wish everybody a wonderful holiday season. If you need to reach me, go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the Book a Session tab, sending out joy, goodwill to everyone, and tremendous love to you and your families. Take care. We'll see you again soon.